Hello everyone, my name is Tyler Roop. I am the lab specialist for Game Design 1. Today I'm going to go over how to use a very cool tool called GameStructor. It will be something that you should use even if you're on campus or online to help playtest your games. It's something simple and easy to set up, and it serves a lot of a better purpose than Roll20 does. So open up your browser and go to Google and type in GameStructor.com and click on the first link you get, and you get to this page. It's a very simple game creation website. It will help sort of set up your games online that you can actually make rooms for people to join and everything else like that. So I'm going to walk you through in this video how to set up your deck of cards, and then in the next video we'll look at possible board game design, like for the actual board. If you're using a board with your card game, and we'll go over token design too. And then in the last video, we will talk about actually setting up a room for you to get your playtesters in. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and log in. So first, you're going to hit accept terms of use and privacy policy. And the reason why we do this is so we can log in using our Google account. You should use the same Google account that you set up at the beginning of the class. So let's log in with Google. And I'll choose my account. So once you do that, you actually will come to this page, and you see you have games, boards, tiles, tokens, decks, cards, dice, sides, and rules. So one of the interesting things about this is you actually can take all these pieces individually, make them together, and then make them together in actual games, and then you take that game online with this system. So first off, we're going to make our cards. So in this class, you're making card games. So this is going to be kind of like the more focused area of your design inside GameStructor. So first we're going to click on cards, and you can see we don't have any cards created, but we can actually make 2,000 of them if we really wanted to. But we're going to create a new card. And so now we have this nice little template that we can use. So before I get into anything, you'll notice this is a blank card. Now you can upload your own actual images into here, and it's actually going to convert them into pixelated images. But I think what we're going to do actually is first off, we're going to create and use some of their own ones. So by clicking on the templates button, you get this page, and say, all right, well, our card is going to do something interesting, and we're going to go with a bell. So not necessarily the final representation of the card, but just so that we know it's different from the other cards. So first card we're going to make for my game, actually, it's a card game. It's called Goblin Wars, and it has 3 different cards in it. We're only going to make 1 in this video, but we're going to make one of the most important cards, which is the espionage cards. So we're going to come right here into the name, espionage card, and this one's going to be called Goblin Diplomacy. And in the description, you can see that the title actually appears above the card, and then the description is actually going to go down here. So it just says, play this on your turn. Cannot be countered. So this is a card that you play on your turn that cannot be countered. So now this is what the player will actually see when they actually are playing your game. You won't be able to see it until they actually play it, though. So if you're their opponent. So before we do anything else, let's see what we can do with the background. So this card is only white backgrounds. We're actually gonna make the background this red, so we know. And then the foreground, we can actually change the color as well. That's not working. Well, the foreground doesn't work, but the background does. So just change the background color. How about that? We're gonna go ahead and save this card. So now we have these cards we can actually use in our actual game, but we can't do that until we make a deck. So if you go back over to overview and you get back into this page, and you go to decks, we want to create a new deck. So the name of this deck is going to just be Goblin Wars, because that's the name of my game. So put whichever name of your game, put the name of your game into this area, and the description is going to be deck of cards for Goblin Wars use. So naturally, again, you want to be using your own information in these. I'm just showing you how to do it. So we're going to add a card. So you can see we have this espionage card that we just made. You hit add card, it pops up right here. You can actually make as many as you want, up to 300 different cards inside your deck. But for right now, we just want to have this goblin card. So we're going to hit, actually we're going to add a couple more. So it actually needs to be 33 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it actually tells you up here how many you have, which is nice. So we're just going to go ahead and go to 33. So you can have up to 300 cards in total, but we have 33 Goblin Diplomacy cards. This is just an example. There would be different espionage cards technically in my game, but just for the sake of this tutorial, we're showing you how to add them to the deck. So we hit save. So now we have a deck created. So now we have the Goblin Wars deck. We have 33 of the cards for the espionage that we need for the full game. And we're going to go back and hit overview. So now, one really cool thing that GameStructure does that websites like Roll20 does not is it has this interesting aspect to it called rules. And by clicking on rules, you actually can create a new rule sheet for your players to be able to have while they're playing your game. Something that's very important when making board games or really games in general is having a reference sheet for your players to be able to look at during the games. So we're going to hit create new rule sheet. And we're just going to call this Goblin Wars Rules. And we can actually add components to our rules. So if we actually have base components based on like our specific rules for these cards, we can actually add them to this so that we can actually have specific rules for specific cards. So like for espionage cards, if I go to my GDD that I created and I look at, all right, so we can only play one espionage per turn. So I can just say, all right, espionage card can only play one per turn. So by doing this, we're actually allowing our players to have something available to them so they can be like, all right, well, I have an espionage card. And they open up the roll sheet. They're like, oh, I can only play one of these per turn. But they have a bunch of other cool things in here you can use. So you can actually put like the title of your actual, of your game in here. So like mine's Goblin Wars. Like I have the storyline here that we could come back over to the GDD and actually take this and control copy it over. And we paste it in there. So now we have like what it actually is. We have the objective, so it's to win the war through diplomacy. Contents, you actually can say like how much of whatever you have inside the game. So that also goes into your GDD that you made. We actually have, this is how many cards are in this compared to the other ones. Naturally, I did get my numbers wrong, but for the sake of this, you can tell that this areas where you can actually see like so your players can actually be able to look at and say, okay, well, I know there's 28 in the game. And setting up, there's also setup information that you can place in as well. So that comes right out of your GDD as well. If you want to use it, you can. And then gameplay, this is where you put your gameplay rules. There also is a special conditions area that you can also put special things in. So, if there's other rules that are extremely important that are inside of your rules area, as you can see, I'm actually over the limit. You can only have 10,000. So I would say if you're going to use this, put in like the specific rules that you definitely want your players to be able to use. So that means anything that, the bullet point, don't put in stuff that isn't pertinent. So don't put in all your transitions or anything like that. I would definitely suggest putting in your winning and scoring victory conditions, so that way your players know exactly how to win your game. And then your age range, of course, is whatever you want it to be. You don't have to put this information in there. And actually, if you really wanted to, you could actually take some of these sections and delete them. So, if you didn't have a variation of your game, you could get rid of that. So it actually gives you more characters in your actual rule sheet. So if there are no actual, if there's no reason for you to put what age range you are, what your game is for, you can put that in here instead. So we're just going to take a couple of our rules and actually paste them in here so that we can actually have it for our gameplay. And we do. And so it's this kind of nice little Word document text editor. You can pretty much spice up however you want to. You can pretty much delete everything in here and just rewrite it. Naturally, you won't be able to put your entire GDD in here, but you'll be able to put in, again, the points that are the most important that you want your players to be able to see. So now that we have our rule sheet, we're going to hit add rule sheet. And now we have created our rules for our game. So we're going to go ahead and actually create the basis for our game. And then in the next video, we'll go over possibly making a board and some of our tokens that we can use as well if your game calls for it. So we'll go ahead and go into games. We'll create a new game. And our game is called Goblin Wars. We have 2 to 4 players, so we'll put 2. Oh, we'll put 4. Rules, we'll put our rules right here into the thing. Turn-based, you can actually select it. So it actually will make it where you can't move other people's stuff during their turn. So that way there's no griefing involved while playing. So now we're gonna hit the nice little arrow button over. We don't have a game board yet. We'll come back to that. We don't have any dice, but we do have a deck. So we're gonna go ahead and select our Goblin Wars deck. And so now we have one of those. So now we go to player count. Hand size, you can actually select how many cards you have per hand. So, we start off with, I believe, we actually start off with 7 cards. Oh, I don't want 10. So everybody gets 7 cards at the beginning of the game. And nobody else will be able to see these naturally because they are in their hand. Alright, and after we do that, go to the right. Tokens, don't have any tokens yet. We'll come back and do that. And so now this is what our game looks like right now. We have the Goblin Wars as a name. We have our rules, Goblin Wars rules. Turns is true. Players is 4. We have our decks, we have our max player size hand-wise, and we hit save game. So once we've done that, we can make it public, but we don't want to just yet. And actually we'll come back to this screen in the next video to add in our board and our tokens once we have created them. So now we go up to my stuff, we're going to hit overview, and it will bring us back to this, this screen right here. So when we come back, we will make a board, and we will go over token creation as well. Thank you for watching.